pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting order of the Marion County Commission on Monday, January 26th. Is there any public forum would like to speak? Nobody online?
Is there anybody online that wants to comment?
Joanna looks wonderful. No public comments? On with agenda. Something.
Are you done with the agenda?
Oh, in additions to the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Did you want to speak?
Yeah, I think you did.
I think it was a 5-0.
All right, first we have change orders.
Just have one question. What is back to it here? A loss in value based on factors outside the property boundaries. What is an economic obsolescence? Anybody know?
Which one are you on? Do you know?
There's a couple of them. There's one in Peabody and one in Florence.
At the top it says a name.
Charles D. Orcutt,
Okay, I'm on.
Sharon Olmsted.
Let's see. MCC. Okay, that's depreciation. I was just looking to see what the property type is. So. Well, it's right here. There's one right here. That would be a question for the appraiser's office. We can get them. I just was kind of trying to see what type of property it was, if it was a real estate or some other type.
Question whether everybody that has to look at windmills can apply for a reduction in their taxes for those factors outside their property boundaries. I can talk to Nikki about that.
Next we have the minutes of January 20.
Any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jump out of your seat at.
I did, for a minute.
It can't be that funny.
It's a little loud in here, surprisingly.
Oh,
Little echo even, I think.
There you go.
well, there's construction going on in the next room next to me, so I'm surprised you're not hearing that.
All right, we have early checks in the amount of $18,821.32.
That one billing on the elevator, that wasn't part of that new proposal.
Yes, that's the down payment, yes.
Any discussions? I move to accept that as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
Aye.
That's what it takes.
All right, we have in your packet was budget allocation request for 2026. We just need a motion and a vote.
So just on going over this, there were certain requests made, and then she's given you what was funded in 2025, and then a proposed budget for 2026. Did the Conservation District actually go down? Are we-
When I looked at it, I believe that's what it said when I looked at it.
Right, so wouldn't we put them in? Like their
Yeah, but that's
requested
that's what was budgeted, so.
amount? Okay, so we're looking for just the approved amount from the commission. So basically, for those of you who are new, she's looking for a motion and a vote to determine the level of funding and approve those for these districts.
Request from Soil Conservation West.
Yes. Yes, so you would approve the amount, potentially you could approve more if you want to, but the amount they requested would potentially be the amount you would approve.
Okay.
Unless you have a reason to change it. And you can take action on these individually or as a group, however you would like. Does that make sense?
And Prairie View requested 109,000, but budgeted was 99,000.
And then the last time, I believe, at least one other time, if not more, you have funded less than the request for Prairie View. Commissioner Garing, it's okay, is it okay for Ashley to use your stamp for the for payday warrants?
I don't know what's wrong with my mic button, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
so the core community, right in the mail packet, we've already paid that
That was just a statement. They showed that we paid it last year.
last year, okay, I didn't see the date on it, I didn't know.
Yeah.
You want to vote on each one, Dave, or the whole? Each one separately, or total?
Does anybody have any questions about any individual ones?
I would suggest you do these separately, so that there's a record of each one.
I'll make a motion to approve the Kansas Legal Services.
In the amount of,
The budgeted amount of 5,000.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second one.
family and communities together is the second one.
Are we duplicating services here? I mean, are we providing that service in the health department and then? I mean, that's what the note says. It was changed over because health department said it was duplicating services. I wonder why they didn't request anything this year.
That's good, a good thing to ask. I'm not sure right now what services FACT is providing. I have not come and made an allocation request. You know, you may want to just table that one or not appropriate for that at this time until that does occur.
I would make a motion that we table both families and communities together and Marion County Food Bank. They have not made a.
I'd second that.
Food bank's different, isn't it?
Neither one of them have made a budget allocation request. The Harvey County CDO, I thought they had made a request for continue their $75,000. I have to look back, but I thought they had made a.
If you can go ahead and address the motion that you have and move forward on that motion, then we can discuss the next one.
I would just say we make a motion to table these two that have the families and communities together in the Marion County Food Bank until such time that.
Need a second?
Second.
Seconded.
Jonas,
Give me a second.
yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm pretty sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the Marion County Core Community budgeted amount of 10,000.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Dirks, I think you're right. I think that the CDDO did make a budget allocation request.
I'd make a motion to approve the Marion County CDDO budget request of $75,000 for 2026.
Second.
Ask a question on what does that get us for 75,000?
That provides services for developmentally disabled individuals in Marion County. There are quite a few. They work extensively through Tabor College. They've got a mentoring program through Tabor College where they provide actual work experience for individuals with developmental disabilities. Project Search.
I think they do some transportation.
They do a lot of transportation. They do a lot of in-home health care for these individuals, allowing their guardians and ability to actually get out and function and not have to stay home with a disabled child all the time. So
Money well spent.
it's money well spent in the community.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion, we approve Prairie View for $99,177.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I think you mentioned last week that Prairie View's now in Hillsborough and Marion School District.
Yes. Representation.
In conversations with the sheriff, it seems like things are going in the right direction.
You know, they now have a representative on the board from the sheriff's department. So, Marion County Fair Association,
Make a motion to approve the allocation for the Fair Association 16-7.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Marion Conservation District for $42,000.
I would make a motion that we approve their 2026 budget request of $41,000 for 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We tabled the one in the food bank, right?
Yes.
That, you know, that basically is pay utilities. That's what it's always been.
The person that usually comes and presents to you on that passed away as well. So I know there are still people obviously working, but
Jane aware of that then, needs to do that?
I'm sorry.
Does Jane probably need to be aware of that? To put that request in for the food bank? He's kinda running the.
I think Gene came last year.
Yeah.
Do you mean Gene Winkler?
Yeah, Gene Winkler.
Oh, I don't know who you're talking.
He's kinda
Yeah,
running.
sorry, I don't know who you're talking about. Okay, but we can get in.
Kathy's.
We can get in touch with Jean about that. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep looking at you crazy, but I was like, I don't know who you meant.
Know a few Genes?
Right. Okay. I'm gonna wait for the discussion about the EMS mentorship program until Mick is here for his update. I do have my report in your packet. And I didn't have anything else. The one thing I did have is we talked about doing work sessions every payday, but we don't have any topics scheduled yet. So we do have a payday coming up on Friday, and so I didn't know if you have a list of topics. I've been trying to maybe give you the opportunity to decide what you want to work on. Is there anything specific that you want to work on this Friday? Or do you want to think about what you want to work on and then send me a list when we schedule something in February on payday?
Talk about payday and make an outline, work with in the future.
Right. It would be great to have your input on kind of what you want to work on those work sessions.
Priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just plan on having a planning session on Friday for developing work topics for the remainder of the year? That work?
I would agree with that.
Okay. Sounds good. That's all I have on administrative. The next thing on the agenda
The flute.
is the fleet update. And so there were some questions at one of the previous meetings about that. So I've given you some information there on the table, and then also we have a couple of representatives from Enterprise here. We have Justin and Jody, and they have some information to share as well. And they can help answer any questions for you. But what I have given you on the table, you've got a list of the county vehicles that are currently ready to be picked up and sold. So we have those. I broke out the invoice for you all so you can see very clearly the January invoice and what we were paying for, because that was a question. And then there's some other information that they're gonna present, and they've got a little presentation or a PowerPoint to help you understand, and we can spend as much time with questions and reviewing as you would like, so.
Cheryl. How are you guys? Sneak in. Perfect. Well, I appreciate you guys having Jody and myself out today. Just quick introductions. My name's Justin Harper. I'm a client strategy manager with Enterprise Fleet. I live in Colwich, Kansas, so just Wichita area, with my wife and 4 kids. So my responsibility is to manage the partnership with Marion County, provide strategy on an ongoing basis, regular meetings, and essentially help execute boards with management that was established, and then will continue to evolve and change as we go on down the road. But that's my role. Jody?
I'm Jody Forschler. I'm the director of our Kansas City office with Enterprise. I've been with the company now for 23 years. My background is in finance and accounting. And so I work with Justin. We work with over 100 municipalities in the government space here in the Kansas, Missouri territory is our assigned territory here out of the Kansas City office. So I work with Justin and partner with folks like you to implement and onboard our programs, and certainly anytime there's change and money being spent, there's questions. And so we wanted to be here today to support and answer those questions and show our commitment to the partnership. So brought a little information along to share, and then thought we could answer your questions as need be, and happy to stick around after the meeting too if that's helpful.
So we're happy to go through what we have prepared if that's where you want to start. If you guys want to start with questions, we're good with that as well. How
I think if you go through they haven't seen what you
Okay.
prepared, so
Yep.
if we go through that first and then go over questions.
Yep, absolutely, we can do that. So, just quick, high level, what we'll talk about, the units that have been delivered so far, units that are incoming, why Enterprise, a financial review, and then obviously time for questions. So, this next slide is basically the 9 vehicles that have currently delivered. So there's 1 for appraiser, 4 for road and bridge, 1 for park and lake, 2 for sheriff, and 1 for weed and recycle. So these are the new vehicles. You should be seeing them driving around the road in fleet. So each of these vehicles was ordered to replace a current vehicle in the fleet. And we're working on turning those in, selling those, and the proceeds from the sale of those current vehicles will come back to you. So this breaks down basically what the price was of each vehicle, the maintenance program that's on each vehicle, and then the monthly rent for each vehicle. One of the things to point out on our program that's different from, I think, a standard leasing structure that a lot of people hear lease and think, okay, we pay a monthly payment, when we're done we turn it in and we walk away. Our leases are set up as an equity lease, so it's more equivalent to home ownership, where you have a mortgage, you make your monthly payment that's paying down the principal, you sell your house, hopefully you sell it for more than you owe, you pay off your bank note, and you get a check of equity that you can put down on your next house. Tracking that analogy? So essentially, when these come to term, we will sell these vehicles and there will be an equity piece that will come back to the county. So as you're making your monthly payment, you're putting the principal down. It's not just money in rent that you'll never see again like you're renting an apartment. So that's one of the main differences in why this works in the government space. Jody will speak a little bit more to what that looks like. But next slide shows the 4 remaining vehicles that are coming in. So again, 3 more police vehicles and a 2500. These are all that serve in Wichita, Superior Upfit. So one should be completed this week. and then the next two first week of February. Those are getting the standard police outfit, and once those are ready, then they'll deliver. Obviously, we'll sell off the current units that those were ordered to replace.
And that top one is for the ambulance director.
It's EMS, yep.
So that one, the director will take that, and then the vehicles they have will pass down to supervisors and first response.
Jody, I'll let you speak a little bit. So why enterprise? How does this, make sense for governments? As she mentioned, we have, 100 plus municipalities that we partner with in Kansas and Missouri. So a little bit about why this works.
Yeah, I think one of the main points or key pieces of the program is the resale of the vehicles at the right particular time. What we typically see in government market space is that folks typically have day jobs and you're not in the car business every single day. So knowing when to get rid of a vehicle and the fact it's losing value on a daily, monthly, annual basis is one of the pieces of the puzzle that we'll bring to you in this partnership and help you identify when's the right time to resell it. And then from that standpoint, we'll do it on your behalf. Unfortunately, you guys don't always have the avenues to resell those vehicles, nor do you have the knowledge of when to do it. And so I think having a proper resale, the goal here is to buy low, sell high, is one of the primary attractive selling points of our program. A lot of folks just don't have access to that information or those avenues, and we've got a remarketing team that's what they specialize every single day in. So most government entities have no idea, and so we'll bring that knowledge to you. The second piece is typically with our government clients, we see really low mileage patterns. And so from that standpoint, you guys get a huge advantage of that you qualify for a government incentive. So that's what helps you buy low. And then from that standpoint, you're not driving these vehicles a great deal of miles. So from that standpoint, if we resell them at the right point in time, we can capitalize that and shrink your total cost of ownership or the actual depreciation of the vehicle. So a lot of low mileage patterns that it's knowing, again, what's the right point to get rid of them, how long should we hold them. That may not be, 12 months, it may not be 10 years, but that is a factor that we help bring into the financial equation of this and help you guys evaluate. I think the other piece of it is that there's never enough budget dollars to go around. You guys are trying to do a lot with very little. And from that standpoint, we want you to tie up as little cash into a depreciating asset as we possibly can. Again, as Justin mentioned, you guys get the equity out of these vehicles. But from that standpoint, we don't want you to tie up $50,000, $60,000, $75,000 in the cost of some of these vehicles. Let's just tie up what you need to and allow you to continue to build equity in those. The other piece is an outsourced maintenance solution. Typically, folks are having trouble more and more working on these cars. And then furthermore, getting your mechanics to be fully staffed. They have plenty of other things and other equipment within the counter that their time can be used on. So we can outsource that, give you a budgeted number on one invoice and give you an outsourced solution for your maintenance. Then lastly, I'll close with is typically counties don't have a dedicated fleet manager that can stay up every year on what are the government incentives that are applicable for all vehicles, what are they worth, how can I resell them, how much maintenance have we spent. Those are all services that we'll bring up. And like I said, you guys all have day jobs, other areas within the county that need your attention. And so we bring this information to you proactively on a quarterly basis. So I just thought I'd share those as some of the benefits, not all, but a few of the benefits as to why our program has been sought after by so many municipalities in the state of Kansas.
Pause there for any questions. I know we've probably already covered a lot. There's a few more pieces, but what questions do you guys have at this point?
How do we get away from this farce?
How do you get away from it?
I didn't stutter.
I was, yeah. So
Maybe our hearing isn't very good.
What's the exit strategy is the question?
Well,
Can we get out
Yes.
later this year?
Yes.
We don't like this.
You have a 12-month hold period at a minimum. Certainly, we're not here to build walls, gentlemen. We're here to build bridges. We're here to support our program and answer those questions. But that is not the intention of our program to sign up. My understanding is it went to vote. You guys approved it. We just delivered these vehicles here in the last 60 days, and now we're getting questions as to how we end the program. That certainly isn't our hope for the program. But we're also want to collaborate, and from that standpoint, we'd ask you to honor the commitment that you made up front with what you approved. What's that?
I didn't make it.
Well, the board approved it. So
Don't
from.
get me involved that I approved. I'm
Noted.
serious.
No, yeah. Noted.
Mike, everybody has a,
Speak to the maintenance, do you have questions?
I'm not in
about the-
favor of leaving the program, FYI.
Can you say that again, Commissioner Garing? I didn't hear what you
I
said.
said I'm not in favor of leaving the program. So I don't think this is a board consensus thought.
Okay. On the invoice, you might see that, we do have, we have vehicles on full maintenance, which are all of the leased vehicles, the new vehicles that we're getting. And
Less the
so,
pursuit vehicles.
except the sheriff's office, they don't get to qualify
They
for
don't get
that.
qualified.
But then we have the maintenance subscription, which is $6 a month or $72 a year for all of our county-owned fleet. And what that does is it gets us a baseline data of our cost of ownership, and it also ensures that we are doing our maintenance as it should be scheduled. So there are some other things included in that, but I just wanted to make sure that you understand that. So the vehicles that are on the $6 monthly subscription fee is basically all of our like passenger vehicles. And the reason that we do that is to get that information. They manage through the vendors of getting the mileage put in, getting the list of all the repairs put in through their software, and then they make sure that we're not paying more than we should be paying for the maintenance, and then they bill us through Enterprise for the maintenance. So the vendors are getting paid, but we are getting that management piece. That's what the $6 a month is for. So if you look at our entire fleet, that is about $300 a month for all of our vehicles, and that is a lot less than you would pay somebody at the county level to be assigned to doing that, all of that work. So then the other piece is the full maintenance, and that's on all except the police vehicles. And so the maintenance is included in that. So they are not gonna be passing through the majority of the maintenance costs for those vehicles.
Correct.
So, and Justin can answer a lot of more questions on that, so.
Happy to
So
speak.
on that maintenance, the two different, so the full maintenance rate is obviously quite a bit higher now. Is Enterprise taking care of all the maintenance costs then?
Correct. You're exactly right. Yep. So the full maintenance rate is a fixed rate that you pay monthly, but then everything that's paid for is paid for by us. You don't, I say everything outside of accidents. It's not there, but engines, transmissions, oil changes, it does not cover, we did not build in brakes and tires into the rate. And the reason we didn't do that was because we didn't know that you would get enough miles on these to where you need to replace brakes or tires. So if and when you do need to replace brakes and tires on a full maintenance vehicle, that cost would be passed through. So you would see that. But the rest of it, preventative and non-preventative, is covered under that full maintenance rate, correct?
Okay. And then with the maintenance subscription for the partial maintenance, are we getting, do we have to take those to specific vendors?
Great question.
And then are we getting a reduced, I mean, we paid $120 basically for an oil change, Ford F-150. So is that a,
So I'll answer it on a couple layers. Yes, good question. So on the maintenance management, on both programs, actually, they do need to go to approved vendors. Those vendors have agreed to work with us. They've agreed to use our software. The vehicle goes into the shop. Your driver would show them this maintenance card, say this is an Enterprise vehicle. They run it through our system. They say it needs an oil change, it needs a flush, it needs a this, it needs a that. We have folks, 300 ASE certified technicians that sit and field those requests, and they say, yes, it needs an oil change, approved. It doesn't need a flush yet, take that off. It needs this, it needs that. So you get some control in there to make sure you're getting the right maintenance done at the right time. They also are looking at pricing and saying, this is priced too high, your labor rate, your negotiated labor rate is X, you need to charge that. And so they're negotiating and controlling that pricing component. Once that's done, they approve it, the work gets done, the bill gets sent to us, we pay the shop the bill, and then depending on which program it is, you either see the invoice or see the amount come through on your invoice or don't. So on the shop specifically, Midway Motors, Hillsborough Ford are both approved shops. We did just get 54 Auto approved as well, so we've got them up and running here in town.
56. Yeah, Highway
56, I'm sorry, yes, 56.
And then we have Webster's on there as well.
And Webster's as well, yes. So we have quite a few local vendors where we can go and use this program. From my seat, the goal of really what I'm trying to do is analyze the data and make good recommendations on a long-term basis, right? So to Jody's point, we're here today because we, in good faith, want you to know we're not here to sell you a few cars that never show up again. This is a partnership, this is a collaboration, and I really view myself as a consultant and as a data analyst who's gonna look at what's going on in your fleet, vehicle by vehicle, item by item, and make a recommendation on a regular basis as to what we should be doing with this vehicle. The more data I have, the more effective the recommendation. So if we have maintenance records, we know what's going on and we're utilizing that correctly, I can make better recommendations. So that's really the purpose of the maintenance program. Cost control, convenience. We're controlling your cost. It's controlling the work that's being done at the right time, and then the convenience of you guys not having to employ somebody strictly to do this.
And I'm in full agreement with that. I mean, we can't pay somebody $3,600 a year to
Manage
To do
maintenance on
what?
50 vehicles. Yep.
if this program works as you say it's designed to work, and I don't doubt that it won't. I mean, we can't accomplish that for $3,600 a month, so, or $3,600 a year, so that's, and then if we can hopefully save that much with reduced maintenance charges, then we should be money ahead. So I just needed some clarification.
Yeah, the thing I'm excited about is we'll get the data, because we've never tracked that cost of ownership or any of that information, so I'm kind of excited about getting the information.
Me both. I'm a data nerd, so I love it. Yeah. Give me the numbers. Let's.
So what does the data say when you should trade the vehicle in?
Yeah.
How long did it last?
Great question. So I'll give you a good answer. It's different on every vehicle, right? That's why you need me, right?
Depends on the history
It
of it.
does, yeah. And a general rule of thumb is 5 years or 100,000 miles, whichever comes first, is a general rule of thumb. Generally in the government space, which about half of my clients are government clients, we don't get to 100,000 miles. It's, you're doing 8 to 10,000 miles a year. And so you're 10 years down the road before you hit that 100,000 mile. Generally what we find on vehicles, say a half-ton truck or a 3 to 5 years is kind of the sweet spot of when it makes sense to cycle that vehicle out. It may only have 30 or 40,000 miles on it, but the resale is so much stronger because the used car market is demanding that vehicle at that age, at that miles, that they'll pay more for it than they would if we run it another 10 years and we sell it with 120,000 miles. So there's a sweet spot for every vehicle. It also depends on how much aftermarket equipment we have on it. So like our police vehicles that we know we're putting $10, $12, $13, $14, $15,000 of equipment on them, we need to run those a little longer to depreciate them a little longer to be in an equity position. But it depends is your answer. That's what we'll discuss on a regular basis and evaluate as we go, is which ones are the right ones to make moves on and which ones are the right ones to hold on. But it'll be backed with data. It won't be like, I woke up today and felt like this is the one we should do.
And this it's all, the pieces are just literally all falling into place within the last couple of weeks. And so it's, everything's been coming in kind of hard and fast, and then also being able to learn, the portal and all of the, we have a really great portal that we can get on, and we've had great communication and service so far from all of our enterprise team as far as answering questions, which there've been a lot of questions.
Normal.
Yeah, so it's been really, really good so far from where we're sitting, so, or where I'm sitting.
Are we assigning drivers to each vehicle?
It depends on the department. Some are, some are not. Tina's.
Some people drive better than other people.
Yeah, you got it, yes. Less risk. Yeah.
Sometimes brakes last forever,
Yeah.
some of them don't.
And that's something, you know, on assigned vehicles, we'll be able to see, right? We can monitor that, we can look at that and say, well, Jimmy is going through brakes twice as fast as Johnny, you know?
It happens.
So,
Yeah,
yep.
we do have the capability of assigning drivers, and some drivers are gonna be driven by, some vehicles will be driven by multiple
Yeah, I know.
people, so.
Do the vehicles have those little boxes in them, like some of the insurance companies that monitor the driving?
Yeah, so it's a telematics device, a GPS device. So we partner with Geotab. It is an option to put on. At this point, we don't have any Geotab devices in there. A lot of our clients want those, not only for the data, but also protection of the drivers. It'll show if they've been speeding. It'll show if there's harsh acceleration, harsh braking.
Shows idle time.
So there's some fuel savings there. So certainly something, you know, that we do a lot of. We haven't gotten there yet with this fleet, but we'll continue to talk about it.
Probably an additional charge per
It is.
month per vehicle.
Yep, $20 a month essentially is the government rate for $20 per month per device is the cost for the geotabs.
And on the vehicles you're selling, do you use a third party? How do you do that?
Yeah, great question. So we dispose of vehicles really three main ways. One is at auction, so we'll take them to auction either in Kansas City or Oklahoma City, whichever's closest makes the most sense. The second is we hand sell directly to dealerships. So we have, Jody mentioned our remarketing group. There's 500 remarketing employees at Enterprise that their main job is to sell vehicles back to dealerships. And so they're selling Enterprise rent-a-cars, right? All the rentals that they're turning in and cycling, and yours are piggybacking on that infrastructure. So those salespeople are measured on how fast they sell the vehicle and how much above commercial black book they sell them for. So they're incentivized to get the most money for them, and your vehicles are coming alongside those. To answer your question specifically for your fleet, most of the vehicles that you're turning in now that we're selling, the client-owned vehicles or county-owned vehicles that are older, we're gonna sell those at auction. The dealers aren't gonna have quite as bit of an appetite for those. The lease vehicles, as they start coming off lease, a 3-year-old, 30,000 mile half-ton truck, that's a dealer. They're gonna buy that, they're gonna pay a premium for it, and we'll drive that resale price up for you. So the third way is we can sell it back through Enterprise car sales. So we'll sell it to Enterprise and then they will sell it to a consumer on the back end. It's pretty rare that happens. So most of them is auctions or direct to dealers.
There are also some vehicles that we'll just sell directly on Purple Wave. Like some of the vehicles that we're gonna be turning in, especially the sheriff's office, they are not in good shape. And so it doesn't make sense to have Enterprise sell those for
To have
us.
us transport it, sell it, change title, all that. Usually it's about $1,500. If the value is $1,500 or less, I say you guys sell it on your own on Purple Wave. If it's more, then we've got a little bit of a buffer where we can make that up.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. What other questions?
I wanna know if my math is right. $54 a month times 12, 648, we change oils twice, that means we do a $324 oil change.
Run me through your numbers again, Mike. What do you?
54 times 12 is 648, and we, on 10,000 miles, that's just 2 oil changes, so it's $324 for 2 oil
Your
changes.
54 is on your full maintenance rate at $54 and that times 12, yeah, so I got you. So that doesn't just cover oil changes, it covers anything that happens on that vehicle. So basically, yep, the entire term of that vehicle, anything that happens from a maintenance standpoint, we're taking care of. So it includes flushes, it includes, you blow an engine, transmission, anything that's outside of warranty, all of that would be covered by us. Does that answer your question? Does not?
Any other questions, or? We will answer everybody's question.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sounds like a good opportunity.
We're excited about it, yep. Like I said, we do a lot of this and we've got the ball rolling now, as Tina said. Things are starting to move and groove, so it's just starting to get fun.
I noticed vehicles that you do have out, that the employees look a lot happier driving them.
There is,
It's just I know it's in the town of Marion, it's making us look nicer because we don't have these pieces of shit driving down Main Street.
There is something to that. The employee morale, and what we find honestly is generally the employees take better care of the vehicles because you provide them a nice new tool. They want to take care of it. They have some respect for it. So, yeah, there's a lot of soft benefits to the program as well.
They don't want to be the first one to put a dent in it.
Correct. Exactly. Exactly right.
Appreciate you coming and
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
later. Nick?
He's here.
Welcome.
Where you want? Where you want to go?
Want me to begin?
Yeah, just
All right.
jump in, sorry.
Just kind of a quick rundown in the last year, we had, EMS ended up with 290 calls, we were down a little bit from last year. We've been able to get our staffing up, we're now at minimum staffing, which is good news. We actually have, in addition to being at minimum staffing, we have 3 new hires in the process of being hired. One gentleman is waiting for his approval from the State Board of EMS. He transferred from Oklahoma. And we have 2 very seasoned paramedics coming from Georgia. They'll be here at the end of March. We're looking at Chuck coming back probably middle of February, which will be nice. We're hiring 3 part-time individuals. And we've got 2 of our EMTs that have started medic school. One will be finished in December. Let's see here. Director vehicle looks like it's gonna be coming in the first week of February. And then I think the main thing that I spoke with Tina about was the mentorship program through KEMSA for me to join that. The cost is about $2,000. It's a 9-month program, but with the cost, we figured that you guys would need to approve it. So that's mainly what I have for you guys, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
And that mentorship program, it basically pairs new EMS directors with a mentor. And it includes the 9-month membership, face-to-face visits with a mentor, and at our service. So the mentor would come here. It also includes unlimited online and phone support with a mentor, a 2-year membership to KEMSA, and then the one KEMSA management workshop. So it's not just which would potentially cost something if he would sign up individually. So this is something that we had asked him to pursue, and so since the cost is over $1,000, we just wanted to get approval for him to go ahead with it. $2,000.
The mentors are EMS directors or prior directors from right here in the state.
Do you know?
That's my understanding, yeah.
You get the same one whole time.
Yes, I believe it.
And completion of that mentorship program is one of the kind of the milestones that we had initially set for Mick.
You're talking about the new people you got coming? Most of them gonna be able to live in Marion County?
The full-timer that got his license in Oklahoma, in Marion County. The two medics from Georgia, they have family in McPherson, Lyons area, so they'll be a county to the west. And then I actually just got a new application in for a paramedic that I haven't interviewed him yet or spoken with him yet, but he's from Gossel area.
50% of them.
Yeah, that's about what we run, right in that neighborhood.
I think it's imperative that we do what we need to do to make sure that our EMS department is run effectively and efficiently, so I would make a motion to approve the participation in the EMS Directorship Mentor Program.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Yeah, I see, he said aye. Okay.
Raise his hand. Okay, passed 5-0.
Will there be more meetings coming up like the one we had a month ago?
We don't have one scheduled at this time, but Tina and I had discussed having one.
I'd recommend you do that periodically.
Yeah, I think we're gonna work for quarterly on that.
It sure seemed like it got people on the same page.
Agreed.
Okay, does anybody have anything else for Mick?
Keep at it. All right.
Thank you, man.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Brad,
So,
you up to it?
I think so. Let's just start with the list that we have on the agenda. Review of the treasurer's personal property resolution from the last meeting. Appears that was passed because it was fully signed, so I don't necessarily need to upset that whole process. If I had seen it or looked at it in advance, yes, I would make some changes to it. None of them are so dispositive that I think it has to be thrown out. Primarily, the area where I have the greatest concern is that it's a little general in terms of the stressing of the separation of the two departments. You can easily get into a bind over it if you don't mention those kinds of things in great detail. There's also some grammatical errors in it. Uses like affected instead of affected, few other minor changes like that. So if you ask me would I make changes to it, yes, I would. Are they so pivotal that it creates massive issues with regard to this one? No. It's what's being used, as I understand it, in Dickinson County. So, I mean, I think it would be enforceable as it is, but it's again just a question of how thorough you want to be in terms of defining the separation between departments.
Are you willing to rewrite that to present to us so we can
Yeah.
amend it if approved?
Yep. Could rewrite it for next week if you'd like. If you want to use it as is, as I said, I don't think it puts Tina or anyone in a bad situation per se, or Jeff, but I would just do a little more with it than is there. That becomes a call for you folks.
it'd be good to have a consensus of the board if you want to.
It'd be nice to
do that.
have you write it up and written if we can review it. See if
Okay.
my opinion.
I'm good with making sure it's defensible on a Marion County standpoint.
Okay, so that's 3.
Yes.
Okay, so, yep, looks like consensus. So that's in place until it's, they adopted it pending staff review, but it was all signed, so.
Once it was executed, the pending staff review is when I use that as if it's going to be held open.
Okay.
If you go ahead and circulate it for signature, I consider it in place.
Okay,
So it would be
so
changed.
it's in
and slightly
effect right
different.
now, but
Yeah.
it would be replaced by
Yeah.
whatever one you bring.
So you're Tina needs to know if she's got it in place today. Yes, she does. I'm gonna skip over the general update about ongoing matters because I have so many of them that I'm gonna pick and choose a little bit. So see what kind of time we have or how it fits best. Would like to go through the review of resolutions imposing moratoriums. Two that are noted there, plus a third potential based upon inquiry from the board and a particular member. On the battery energy storage systems, I'm very familiar with that. I've been dealing with it for 3 years in Halstead. It ultimately had an initiative referendum in order to block them from being in place. So I've written multiple resolutions. The one that I assume you've seen, I was involved in crafting that. It is a good general statement on a moratorium, and as you know, with a moratorium, it's not a ban. Your ability to go ahead and change, extend, contract, or do something differently with regard to the moratorium is entirely up to you, and it can be done week to week. So if you wish to pass that, certainly that's your prerogative and a policy decision for this board to make. That's why you're elected. If you want it in place, the one that was presented or is used as an example is reasonably thorough. For a county, I think it works well. Several of the ones I've written in municipal situations where they had specific concerns and issues within their industrial parks or a site near a transfer station, which is always the prime location for these to try to find real estate and the ability with the local governmental entities to go in place are different. And we write them somewhat differently, but a broad-based one for a county, that one works very well. So if it's something you want to do, we can prep that for approval, like for next week if you'd like, and put everything in it that necessarily needs to be there in terms of Marion County and put it in front of you.
It's probably something we should be working on.
Yeah, there's a great deal of change exponentially that's occurred with battery storage systems. There is still the concern for a lot of people about fires. I've interviewed and dealt with fire protection specialists on a regular basis for several years, and a number of them will say the same thing. I mean, they may have all gone to the same seminar. I'd rather have that in place than have to go put out a fire with a Prius. Far more dangerous, far greater chance of explosion, much more difficult to contain. But, and I'm not saying that as a supporter or a detractor from BESS systems, just there's a lot of information out there. I don't see any issue with doing a moratorium because your Planning and Zoning Commission really needs to get educated on these, how they work, what they're about, what the risks would be, what quality of life concerns you might have, all of that. There are masses of information out there on either side of the issue. There was a major event in California that created a lot of concerns for people over the years. However, again, the technology has changed since then. So it's a little difficult for me to sit here and say one way or the other, and nor should I. If you want to, and I do think that's wise, just editorially, make sure that all the T's have been crossed and the I's have been dotted before one ever is proposed in this county. I think that's great. In conjunction with data centers, we're seeing a lot more demand for them. The data centers, and just leading right into that, in terms of they're just a huge energy hog, far more than we right now have the capability of supporting if it's of any size or consequence. The reason, candidly, that we there's a large entity we'll just say in Wichita that has a real need for AI and sees a real market for it and a market opportunity. They were looking at a site that overlaps between Sedgwick and Harvey County. So with that in mind and knowing how quickly that can sometimes occur, that moratorium was put in place specifically for that reason. I don't know of any, or have not heard, that doesn't mean anything either, but of any that are necessarily being looked at in Marion County. Doesn't mean they won't happen, because there's a tremendous demand for that technology. And as AI continues to explode, there's gonna be an even greater demand. But I think it's safe to say right now that we probably wouldn't find too many engineers that would say we're equipped to deliver the kind of power that thing would suck. And so it would be difficult for this county right now to absorb a data center like that. So a moratorium there, once again, seems like a wise choice, but that isn't my call, that's yours as policy setters. But the example that you have is one we just recently did in the adjacent county, covers the bases pretty well. I did quite a bit of research with multiple states where they are more prevalent to get some idea of what the language needed to be in order to cover the bases. And we have an example of that Sharon's dealing with right now in terms of a request for certain types of information about something that could qualify under the general definition of a data center. Not completely, but elements of it. I'm researching through that. She presented that last week to see whether this moratorium would basically cover that or not. And if we reach a point where you want to go ahead and do one, I'd probably want to include language that covers that if there's some concern. So once again, policy decision. If you like them in both of those cases, it's not difficult to put one in front of you to take a look at. If you pass it, you have the ability to amend it, make it stronger, more broad, less broad, whatever you feel you want to do. That's the advantage of a moratorium. They're readily changeable at any time by majority vote of quorum.
So the commission do that or planning and zoning?
Commission does the actual moratorium. You can get a recommendation from planning and zoning, but honestly, in order to give planning and zoning enough time to really research this stuff so that they can come to you and answer all your concerns and questions, usually the moratorium comes first. I've done multiples. So something to look at. Third one that isn't listed here, but that has come up was with regard to certain types of development in the community, Airbnbs and that sort of thing. We do not have a significant amount of regulatory control right now in terms of administrative regulation on that. Third area, if you'd like to give planning and zoning time to put something together to recommend to you, that would be a third one that could be done at the same time. Doesn't have to be, just putting it out there because it's a common topic.
Well, I mean, they have the issue out there now is, with infrastructure. So, I mean, I think it makes sense to go ahead and look at a draft resolution, for battery storage data centers and Airbnbs.
And the best as well, I assume? Yes.
So I would make a motion to allow county council to draft a draft resolution covering those three areas we've discussed with moratorium to be reviewed by the commission.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Those against? Aye. 4 to 1.
That's helpful. Next one on the bullet point list, Planning Commission member appointment, legal opinion of actions taken. I should mention as to all of these, depending upon how they were presented here today and the responses I was getting, I've got written memoranda that I will distribute on all of them, so that there is something in writing in each and every case. I want to also, I should have started with this, apologize for my absence for a period of time, certainly unplanned, and I'd really rather have not gone through it if I could help it. But it has been what it has been, and Murphy's Law always sets in. It's one of the reasons that when I started in this position, I suggested that the county councilor be present at all of your regular meetings as opposed to just being on a as-needed basis. So I appreciate your indulgence in that regard and patience. As to the Planning Commission, this all started a number of years ago. I have no horse in this race. I'm simply going to tell you what the law is. I'm well aware that there's some disagreement. I didn't do this in an absent-minded way, or just me, or come up with it late at night and think, well, this is the position I'm taking. This involves significant amounts of research and contact with other county councilors, as well as the association's attorney and the AG's office. The one thing that we seem to miss with regard to this, I've mentioned it before and I'm going to say it again. The bylaws of the Planning Commission need revision. There's some things that need to be done, and I don't think Sharon, and I know Russ Avey, would not disagree with that. There are significant places, and there's some of which haven't even arisen yet, that as you review them globally, should be fixed, should be tightened up, should be changed. The changes that were made were done 6 years ago, a little more than that now, or right about now, that amount of time, maybe a little more, after we made the determination to constitute this body with 5 versus 3. One of the things that they did as part of that process, and you did as well, and I've heard from a prior commission member, and I don't begrudge the opinions of what everyone thinks happened or what was done. I'm just looking at the bylaws. That's what I've got in front of me. And also what the interpretation of the law is in the state of Kansas. And if you want to look at an example, ironically, of exactly where this comes up and has before, all you have to do is look at your own association. The Kansas Association of Counties have different members based upon the seat. Some urban, some rural, they have different names for them. We have 10 that are appointed, 2 of you doing it, and the presumption, even though it doesn't fully say that, once again, something that needs to be tightened up in those bylaws, is the presumption is that you're appointing those 2 unilaterally, each one of you, and don't have to necessarily get the input of the other 4. But we assume, and I assumed, you're doing that out of your district. It doesn't say that. Nothing that would keep you from going to another district and appointing somebody. Bear that in mind. The way this works and the way these are set up, it runs with the seat, not the member. And that was the reason for my original opinion. If you're a member and you have served 2 of 3 terms, you have another one to serve. But if before you serve that 3rd one so that you're required to have the break, you take another position, specifically the at-large position, that's a different rule or a different application. Now, if someone, and I know Commissioner Dirks disagrees with that, if he came to me and said, I want you to argue my position, I could do it reasonably effectively. I'm just telling you that the way the law generally works and the interpretation of it is each of those seats have a separate application to them. It does obviously put it in a position where someone, I don't know that they could serve 6, but they can certainly serve 5 continuous terms. I know, and again, talking with the former commissioner, that that's not what was intended at that time, at least by that person. I respect that. I'm sympathetic to it. If you want to err on the side of absolute caution, then you do not take, as is the case here, what I've been confronted with as I understand it, and appoint the person who's already served 2 and 2. I have no issue with that either way. That's your call. But I cannot tell you that that person cannot serve another term if they've only served 2, even if they serve 2 in another seat. And again, there's a bright line difference here. 10 of these seats, 2 each, are unilaterally selected by you, each of you. 1 was created to be at large out of any of the 5 districts and only by approval through a nomination by the chair, a second, and a vote of the majority of the quorum. Very different. And the way the law works, and I've run this past a lot of different people, is that you look at those as the seat, not the individual. You don't attach it to the person that sat there. You attach it to the seat itself, if that makes sense. That's the reason for the original opinion I gave. Now, again, I will say this. If you look at that and go, it's not how we want it, great. Tell me to bring you a resolution next week. Your resolution is in essence binding because they are advisory, they being planning and zoning and their bylaws, to you. If you want them to do what you want, which is, I don't want anybody to ever serve more than 3 terms. I don't care who it is, and I don't care what seat they're in. I can fix that. And I can do it now. And you can make it applicable instantly. Your call.
So the nomination was made by the chair.
And it was seconded,
The-
and it was all 5 members of this board.
And again, that's fine. But then it was rescinded. And the rescission is not, again, different area of law. Robert's rules do not apply to this body. I carry them with me everywhere I go. I've been doing this for 40 years. Only if you adopt them. And ironically, you know who adopted them? Your planning commission. In their bylaws, it says, we will use Robert's rules. They will, you don't. Now, I will say this. I only asked Tina and looked back as far as I could see. Now, if it was done and was perpetual in nature 40 years ago in Marion County, which I doubt, then Robert's rules could apply. But I can't find that it does. Thus the reason that I suggest to you to take a shorter version of a 2-inch thick book and use it, which is the code of procedure for effective meetings. And I have copies that I will give you of the one the league put together, which uses, consistent with Robert's rules, the basics of everything generally that this body sees on a regular basis, and not get into the weeds where there are 7, 8, well, but 4, and oh this, and you got to look at the index every day in order to, and it's a dangerous thing to do if you don't use it every day and get really good at it. Roberts is unwieldy, but they are also generally in existence. So if you want to adopt those, I can do that for you too. But if you want to do one that's a little easier for the citizen legislator to understand, the one that was created by the League of Municipalities and used in a lot of cities that I've represented and also other counties, that's what I would suggest to you.
I put forth last week that we look at Rosenberg's.
The one that and we can compare the two. I don't have a problem with that. I'm familiar with Rosenberg's. The one that the league did actually in some ways covers more. And I would have to look at it line by line to see if there's any less in some instances. But either one fixes the issue. But again, I want to stress to you, you don't have to do anything. There is no requirement that you have any rules about conducting your meeting. All you're then governed by is statutory authority in the state of Kansas as it exists at the time you convene. And what that generally means is chair controls. But a lot of things in terms of how things get on your agenda, how you rescind things, all of that is generally covered in those shorter sets of rules. Are they a good idea? Yeah. Do they come up all that much? No. It's not been something up to this point in my tenure here where there was a real strong need. Some cities, some counties, there is. And I think you've come to a point where it probably is a good idea that you have them. And I will distribute those before the end of the day so you can look at them. And if you got copies, I did not, of the ones with regard to Rosenberg, I've seen them before. That's not true, I got them from you, Tina. I'll happily go through them and tell you what the differences are to the extent that there are differences. And you can select which one you want to use. I'm just more familiar with the one that the league uses in Kansas, and it was specifically tailored for governmental entities in this state.
So without seeing this, I haven't seen this in writing yet, but you're saying that Derek Bilton initially served 2 terms as
Appointed.
as appointed, and then he transferred to a new position as the at-large position. I would like to comment that, according to KSA 75-4303 and the Attorney General position, opinion 2008, number 15, members of city and county planning commissions and boards of zoning appeals are officers for the purpose of the oath requirement of KSA 43708 or 75-4308. I've looked back through all of the planning and zoning minutes during that time frame, and Derek Belton was never sworn into a new position. That being said, he never changed positions. If he did, he's been serving illegally for 6 years, or contrary to state law.
I would agree with you to the extent that I specifically asked the question of the director, are these, as it relates to rescission, had we executed versus executory in terms of a position, and I'll get to that in a minute. She said every person who is seated as a new member is administered the oath. If that did not occur, that's a different troubling aspect. I would agree with that.
That never occurred with Mr. Belton.
I have not looked at that. I just assumed based upon my question that that had occurred. And the reason that I asked it was because the rescission occurred in December. The seat wasn't to be taken or eligible to be filled until January. That's one. 2, person never took the seat. 3, they never took the oath. But I was asking for that reason, not what you've just raised, which I would take a look at.
Mr. Belton was never sworn in, so my contention is that he never assumed a new position, and he's served 4 consecutive terms in one position, exceeding the amount permitted by our resolution.
It's a little more complex than that, but either way, it creates a concern about a number of things.
It does.
And I would happily look at that, but I did not. I was more concerned about the questions that had arisen in my absence, and that's the ones I've been dealing with today. But if you've looked at that, and I would double check it as well, if there was never an oath taken, that does create some issues. I would agree.
So what you're saying is you've taken an oath in one seat, that does not carry to another seat.
No. No. In order to be consistent with the analysis I've given you, those are individual seats, and it runs with the seat. So if you are in one position for 2 terms and they're lawfully having done everything that's required to take that seat, and then in this case, the chair, I remember the question arose initially, hey, I wish to nominate them for the at-large seat. Can they do that, first of all? The answer is yes. And again, it runs with the seat. At that point, the potential exists for someone to serve. Again, it says in there, and it gets confusing, it says right in the bylaws that everything is applicable to the at-large. Well, that's the duties of the that's interpreted, not the seat itself. You know, that's a completely separate issue. And so it gets complex and difficult when people read that and go, they could serve 6 terms. No, they really couldn't, in theory. They can basically serve at least 5. But be that as it may, they can get beyond the 3 if they're in 2 different positions. And it happens, like I said, KAC has them all the time. Someone who's appointed and really a good member and they'd like to keep them, and they live in a community renting for a while, and then they buy some opulent farm property, and now they're rural. They were urban before, they're a rural member now. And they have repeatedly said, and in checking with the AG's office, they said, yeah, it runs with the seat as far as we're concerned, unless you expressly fix that, which you can do. You can do it right now. You can do it at next week's meeting.
In our resolution, 2019, 2020, or 23, it says, you were talking about seats, it says members.
It does.
Members are appointed of the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals may serve 3 consecutive year terms. Once a member reaches their term limit, they may be reappointed following a 1-year hiatus.
A member in that seat is the implication. And again, like I said, with Commissioner Dirk's point, I can go ahead and argue that contrary position if I chose to. However, that's not what the weight of the law in Kansas has followed. They look at the seat, not the individual's name as a member. They're all members, and they will be members. But again, I can't stress this enough, it's easily fixed. If you want to do a resolution that says, thou shalt not ever in any seat or collectively between several seats serve more than 3 consecutive terms of 3 years each, we can do that. Nothing precluding you from doing that. It just wasn't done.
Another point was, just for clarity, item number 1 says, the 11 members with 2 members appointed from each of the 5 county commission districts. So I don't know that anybody could appoint somebody from outside their district.
Why not? Read it again.
With 2 members appointed from each of the 5 county commission districts.
So you appoint one from Commissioner Becker's district, he appoint one from yours. There's nothing that precludes that.
But it does call for 2 per district.
Correct. My point was that each of you is not constrained as implicitly we assume you are, where it makes perfect sense. It's your district. You'd want the 2 from your district to be on there so that you're populating with an equal number from all 5 districts, right? And it does say 2 from each, but it doesn't, the part that I find inconsistent is it doesn't say that you will appoint only from your district, which is what we've implied throughout this entire period of time, as far as I know. I don't think any of you have appointed someone outside your district.
That's a good example then. I appreciate that clarity.
And that needs to be fixed as well. There's probably about, I think, 12 bullet points I made of those bylaws that need attention. But again, they haven't come up until now. They weren't the sort of thing, the planning and zoning does not, I have not been charged with the duty to attend all their meetings. I attended some when we had the major issues with the wind farms, and those sorts of things, but as an observer. They have a consultant who's capable, experienced. Sharon certainly, I think, is fairly attentive to her job. You've got some experienced people that sit on there, but all of that being what it is, the bylaws themselves were drawn by them, approved by them, and they live by them. However, they are advisory to you. So if you want to say in a resolution, which you can do, this is how we do this. Also, I want to point out once again, the law is really inconsistent. If you look at the statutory scheme, there's 2 places to go for planning and zoning and your Board of Zoning Appeals. Chapter 12, and if you think about what that is, that's the general section for municipalities. But it includes counties throughout, and counties get set all the time. And it is perfectly appropriate for the county to use that, and they have been consistent in always staying there. If they switch, which is chapter 19, which is for counties, in that instance, it actually reads differently. First of all, you have 5 to 9 BZA members are appropriate. We limited to 7, which is the maximum under chapter 12. I called Russ Avey and said, what were you using through this whole period of time? I said, oh, it's chapter 12. So that's what they have done so far. Can you switch? Absolutely. The major difference, one of the things that was of concern to this body, in chapter 19 it says the BZA shall be appointed by this body. Doesn't say that in chapter 12. So those are choices for you to make. Again, if you have, the one thing that is consistent, if you pass a resolution that says we want to be the ones who appoint, and that's what will happen. We want to have no more than, if you're going to use 19, it'd be 9, but we'd have to change everything over, make sure it was consistent with chapter 19. Or if you leave it as 12, it's 7. That's the maximum under the law. They are not consistent. I helped with, or I didn't help with, I got a call about, at one point, Park City. The got a joint planning and zoning commission with Sedgwick County. Which one do you use? They don't know. And the answer that their county counselor gave was, I don't know. And I've already made the call to several of the people in the legislature about this needs to get fixed because these are inconsistent with each other. And they ought to at least have something about them that overlaps in a consistent way so that you're not always going, well, which one are we using? And what's right? Right now, there's no great answer. But you can fix all of it if you wish by changing those bylaws and directing that they be changed. And again, they do them, but you can by resolution say what you want them to say in terms of parameters of selection of the people who sit in those seats, terms, applicability of the 3-term limit, all of that. And it's either silent or ambiguous as it reads now. And I'm not saying that like, okay, this was just a terrible job of writing them. It just leaves out a lot of things and it presumes some things. Now, want to take the safest approach? Appoint somebody brand new. Then you don't have to worry about these term limits. You don't have to worry about, we've got obviously an issue I have to look at in terms of the oath. That's a big deal to me. But you can do that. But I cannot tell you right now, the way it's written, that you can't appoint that person for another term. I can't. Not the way as I've explained it. I can't do that. And I understand there's a position taken on both sides of it. I get it. I don't know either of these people at all. Wouldn't recognize them walking down the street. None of my business. I'm just telling you what the bylaws say and don't say. And I haven't taken into account what was just raised today in terms of the oath. That may make a difference too in terms of what occurs. I had hoped that all the aspects of that had already been delivered, but apparently not.
Back to, I'm trying to find, I didn't bring my planning and zoning book with me, I should have, but in their bylaws, does it not state that the commission is the one that sets both the planning and zoning and the Board of Appeals?
Planning and zoning. The way it reads. And you did. Those 11 are approved by you, or they better be. But then it goes silent. So, well, the way it says it is that when you select those, automatically, those 11 are your Board of Zoning Appeals. We intend for one to serve in both roles. That language is fine. So they changed the statute at the state level and said you can't have 11. You can either have 9 in Chapter 19 or 7 in Chapter 12. So what happened was planning and zoning took it upon themselves, out of the 11 you've already approved, so those 7 have all been approved, to put them in place. Now, is that the right thing to do? Fix the bylaws, and then we'll know whether it's the right thing to do. If you want to say, no, we don't want you picking from the 11 we selected, okay? That's easily fixed. Right now, it's silent.
My contention is that we picked, I mean, our bylaws state that the Planning and Zoning Board is the Board of Zoning Appeals, and to change that, we need to change that, not planning and zoning.
Yes, I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. And you do that by resolution. You can use several if you'd like to deal with separate issues, or all of them at once, that say this is what we want to do. For one, if, as an example, they did this selection of the 11 you've approved, the 7 that they selected have all been approved. Think about it. It's got an exception big enough to drive a truck through. But if you don't want that to be that way, if you're no. Board of Zoning Appeals is quasi-judicial, the other is advisory, and you understand the difference. Quasi-judicial, their answers are final. It doesn't go to you.
Right.
It goes to district court. The advisory element of it with the 11 always comes to you. They just make recommendations. You choose to accept, deny, or remand, always. So if you want to control it, you can. You can do a resolution that says, we are the ones who will pick the 7 out of the election. Their bylaws, then I will advise them, have to change because you control them and how they conduct their business.
I would like to see some of that drafted. Just based on what you've said there, as far as it going to district court and not coming back, so the commission no longer has the final say of something. That definitely needs to be addressed.
Yeah, because again,
In my
if you
opinion.
think about it, what Commissioner Gearing is saying is a good point. You have a big part of what you do when it comes up. If it's a variance, it's going to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. They will convene the 7. Their decision is final as far as the county itself is concerned. You all understand that, right? It's quasi judicial. The aggrieved party, if they don't like the answer that the BZA came up with, they go straight upstairs. Never talk to you. Well, he may talk to you, but it means nothing. If it's anything else, conditional use, any of the other sorts of things that come before them with great regularity, comes here. You're the final arbitrator of what's going to occur when it comes to the law in this county as to planning and zoning for all other purposes other than what goes to the BZA. So logically, if you're sitting there thinking, well, wait a minute, I got elected to be the one who kind of regulates a lot of this in the county. There's a piece of this that if I'm not the one who selects the BZA members, yes, I did indirectly. I selected the 11 out of which the 7 were done. But I didn't pick the 7. And they made a decision that then has to go to district court. I don't have any input on it. If that disturbs you, and it does in a lot of different settings, then fix it.
Well, it disturbs me because I've only selected one person on that board. And past, and I'm not saying that we need to change the board every time there's a new commission, but we do need to maintain that control.
I don't disagree. I mean, again, it's philosophical. Culturally, every one of these bodies, after doing this for 4 decades, is different. And every time there's an election, there's unless it stays with the exact same group, there's a change. And there's an element of culture that plays into what people do and don't do, and why they were elected, and what their views are. That's part of the magic of a democratic system, because we get different viewpoints, sometimes that work well together and other times don't. But be that as it may, you learn to live with that because the overall system works pretty well when you do that. I agree with you. The math always sets it up so maybe you only do 1 because you don't want to have wholesale turnover on this thing. You want some continuity. But over time, if you sit in that, you'll select 2.
Right.
But right now, the way it was done, because they're not precluded from doing it, the 7 were selected by them. Am I used to seeing that? No. But it's usually because the bylaws specify, hey, the BZA, no matter what the number is, that's done by us for that reason. They're it. They're your voice for those issues that go to them for when they're convened. Then the district court judge takes over and you are bypassed.
But even if it came to us, it could still end up in district court.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've been there recently. Sharon went through and sat through a bunch of depositions because of certain issues that they felt like that was arbitrary and capricious. That's the standard. And they shouldn't have done it that way, and I should have been granted this or that. You bet. I've litigated those for years, either as a representative of one of the governmental entities or as a consultant doing it for other entities. But again, the basis here for what I'm trying to say is if you want to do that selection on the BZA, we need to change the bylaw. Well, we need to do a resolution that directs that's how it's going to be done. Then their bylaws have to match that.
Because right now their bylaws say that the planning commission is the BZA.
Yeah.
And I would argue that until, and our resolution says, planning and zoning commission and board of zoning appeals established by this resolution, and so to change that, we need to, the ones that initiate that. That's not up to Sharon to change. It's up to us to change.
I don't disagree.
And I believe it was the board did that election. The planning commission.
But even
It's still
even
not
so,
up to
that's not their role. It's our role. And we need to clarify that. So I would make a motion that we revisit current resolution 2019-23, which is a continuance of resolution 91-10, which I think the only thing that changed between the two was the member process and going from
Yes.
3 to 5 commission.
Some of the language varied a little bit based on how that was done, but yes.
So I would make a motion that we table any actions until we review this resolution and create a resolution thereby directing planning and zoning how we're gonna operate this board.
And specifically, besides, I assume, you want the selection of the BZA, assuming it's 7, consistent with chapter 12, to be exclusively done by this body? Is that what I'm hearing? Anything else that you want changed?
I would, because we have the latitude, I would say that we make that BZA a commission of 5 with 1 member from each commission district being appointed to that board.
I can bring that to you. Obviously, it's a collective
I
decision,
think
but
you have 7.
you can. That it's just a matter of discussion. You know, you're right. Depending upon the circumstances, you tell me what you want. I'll bring it to you.
Five does clean it up a little bit. And I mean, you can get the 5 and then you got 7. So now you got to select 2 more. How much going around the table are we going to do on that? You know,
Yeah.
so I
Your
can see the bonus in 5.
Chapter 12 gives you the latitude from 3 to 7. You choose. If we shifted everything to 19, which I'm not sure I recommend because we'd have to plow through everything they've done in the last 6 years, 19 allows you to go 5 minimum to 9.
I mean, 5 to me is the perfect number because we've got 5 commissioners in this room.
I would agree with that proposal.
And is that normal operating procedure in other jurisdictions that you worked in?
The vast majority of them are a little bigger than that. But again, I understand the logic. There's nothing, again, that's the legal side is what I deal with. The pragmatic side of it in policy matters for you guys. If 5 is enough, it was just like this was 3. And that's, if you ask across the state, was 3 the standard? Yeah. But have a number of counties, or at least more than a few, move to 5? Yes. So, is the dynamic different? Absolutely. Is the dynamic different between 5 and 7? Sure. So you have 2 less opinions. But you're matching it to your 5 districts. Your call. Not for me.
But the Board of Zoning Appeals is basically looking at one issue at a time. More normally.
Pretty much. On average, they're gonna, yeah. The things that they're so broad, when you deal with the variance, basically it encompasses so many things.
So how often do they come into play?
That depends on the jurisdiction. Sharon would have to answer that more than I could. I don't know.
Have we ever used them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's, people will have a piece of property that just doesn't fit for what it's currently zoned to do, and they're looking for a different purpose for it, and it's not gonna, as far as their neighbors or surrounding property owners, it's really not gonna impact them too negatively. So they asked to change it in one area, and there's a lot of law that applies to that, but yeah, And does it come up? Sure.
If I'm not mistaken, maybe some of the issues at the county lake or east shore have been where it has been exercised in Marion County the
Yes.
most.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, you're
I
correct.
think I'm right.
And there's
So,
I can think of a lot of places in this county where someone could potentially seek a variance for certain kinds of purposes. So, you know, is it always a potential? Sure.
Dave, Chairman,
Yes,
could we have Clark restate the motion? Kind of got lost in the weeds here a little bit.
I've been writing it down.
Yeah, not to the, I wrote down what I needed operatively, which is just few words, so.
I have that you motion to revisit current resolution 2019-23, which is in continuance of 9110, and table any actions and create resolution. Then I don't know where I went from there.
Clarifying resolution 2019-23.
So we're not filling the seat tomorrow night at the zoning meeting.
Does
What
that
happens-
also include,
Isn't it?
What happens?
does that also include fixing bylaws that Brad actually has been bringing up to us prior to this whole thing ever happening during his hiatus? Is that also addressing all of that? That's
I'm
my
presuming that it is. If you want those bylaws changed, I'd recommend you let me make all of those changes and I'll redline them. If you don't like them, we'll take them out. But there's so many places in the current bylaws, I say so many, a number of places in the bylaws that need attention. For it to be even just clarified in terms of, they're really kind of doing what I think you want, at least have historically wanted done, but it's got an element to it that's really ambiguous. And someone could argue at some point when they fly spec them, no, I can do it this way. This is a classic example where, you know, is it somebody who can only serve 3, or can they, you know, follow the general interpretation of law in Kansas and run with a seat and be in another one and serve more?
So Clark, is that part of your motion?
I would add that once we clarify our resolution establishing these boards, that we then revisit the Marion County Planning and Zoning bylaws to ensure compliance with our intent.
Okay, I will second that now.
Questions or
It's been motion and second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'll start with 2019-23. Do that and then go from there. Okay.
So we can't do anything planning and zoning next week.
No, you can't. What you have right now is a holdover seat. So his seat has not been filled, and generally, again, the law in Kansas is that, well, if there's been an issue with oath, it can be a problem. Assuming there wasn't that, I'll finish my thought. The person who's in the chair stays in the chair until the replacement is fully and completely selected. I have not reviewed what was brought up by Commissioner Dirks, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Didn't even occur to me, because the general indication is that whenever a new person is seated, and it could well be that they took, well, he wasn't new, but yeah, he is.
If you're saying it's a new position, it's a new position.
For it to be consistent,
You can't have it both ways.
I would always say that they would need to,
But you can't pass a new resolution that's gonna retroactively supersede what we're already operating on. I mean, the new resolution would go into effect at the time of passing.
yeah, But you haven't, right now, as I understand what happened in my absence, someone was appointed, then that action was rescinded. So no one else has been nominated and appointed into the position. The person who was in the position whose term is up as of 12/31 of 25 is a holdover. It's very much like if we didn't have someone elected to one of your seats, you basically, as long as you're willing to do it, sit in that chair until there is someone properly appointed to
But if
serve.
that individual, under the old bylaws, could sit for another term, that's really not an open seat, is
Just
it?
to clarify though, after the rescission, I believe that the board did vote to reappoint.
Oh,
So they voted to reappoint
But then,
and then they voted to stay until pending legal review. So those are the actions that have occurred.
so
this is like a law school exam. I hated those then, I still do.
So, just for clarification, on January or December 1st, we unanimously appointed Evan Yoder to the at-large position. On December 22nd, 3 of the members voted to rescind that appointment and to reappoint Derek Belton. On December 31st, this board voted to stay any decisions and leave that position vacant until we got everything clarified.
Then I would say, I need to review how the minutes read, because I did not read them for that purpose. But then it probably is vacant, because if you guys actually vacated it,
We vacated it.
that one I want to research a little bit, because if it's vacated, then you're like, okay, one of the options is to fall back on who was in it before it was vacated, because that was an appointment that was vacated. That person was sitting in the seat previously, if you follow what I'm saying. So I need to check that. But again, all of that is superseded by, do we have an oath?
And we don't.
So I've got more work to do.
So does the chairman need to appoint somebody then? Somebody said that was the chairman's job. Take a third person and appoint him.
Yeah. Oh, you mean on the at-large position?
Yeah.
It's always the chair who puts forth the nomination, subject to a second and then majority vote of quorum. Yeah. Right now, that's the short form answer is yes.
So if I appointed a third person, this would take care of all this.
Mm-hmm. As well, so. Their meeting is the 29th, is it not?
This week.
They have a quorum without the person, I assume they do. They can go ahead and conduct.
That position is irrelevant at this point. It's 1 out of 11.
Yeah.
They would have a quorum. They can operate without that position.
And I would say for safety's sake, they should, for this meeting. Because there's too many pieces to this that I still need to look at. For me to-
And it was supposed to be stayed until, and we had a definite legal
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, now we've added a new element to it. I'd worked through all the rest of that, but that oath issue is relevant.
So no resolution for this week.
Right.
So then the at-large position will have to be informed that they cannot vote at this week's meeting.
Yeah, given the totality of everything, I would say that's the safest approach to take. If you have someone who, well, the potential exists if someone is in a situation like that and it's challengeable, that actions taken by the body are what are called voidable. And someone can challenge and say it wasn't appropriate. I don't want them doing that at this point.
But you did say you could go with a totally new person.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, want to solve it? You can go with a totally new person. I mean, solve it as is, you know.
At that position, you could argue I was reappointed.
Yes, but the same rule applies to the rescission of the earlier appointment. Mr. Yoder, is that his name? The same analysis applies for the person then subsequently, you know, that you can rescind and vacate, which is apparently what you did. Like missing meetings.
I mean, you were there when we appointed Evan.
Was I?
Yes. We can pull the video up.
I don't doubt you. Believe me, since that time, I've had
I know
slightly different
I know
experiences.
you've had issues, but,
Yeah, and again, like I said, I don't have any, there's nothing about that and the choices you make that I have any concern about. I don't know these guys, and I have no opinion as to who you appoint. That is your business. I'm just talking about the legal interpretation of who sits where and when and how long. That's where I started with this. And now, questions about oath.
Wouldn't it be a good practice every time, even if it's like we do this when people are elected to a city council or to the county commission or whatever, for every new term that they're elected to, a new oath is done
Yes.
regardless whether
Yes.
they're incumbent or not.
Absolutely.
So if that's not something that's being done now for that particular board, that is something that it should always be a new appointment and a new oath for every term.
and we can address that.
Exactly. It's one of the things that I've got noted among, I think there were 12 different bullet points in their bylaws that every time you are reappointed, you take the oath again. When you seat and then, you know, you're seated in that position for another 3-year term. Absolutely. I would think that should always occur.
Conceivably, any votes that Garrett Belton made in the last 6 years are void.
Voidable, yes.
Voidable.
Without us necessarily bringing down challenges, yes, potentially. I want to be careful about how much I invite, you know, but nevertheless, yes. If all of that.
Moving ahead now, next subject.
Yeah. General updates. Let's talk, I'm gonna jump back there. That one we don't need. I had mentioned earlier when I was talking about it, that code of procedure for Kansas cities. This one gets used a lot by counties as well, so just for reference purposes to compare against the two, I'll give you each copies of that. That'd be more than enough. It's Jonas not here. I don't think we need to discuss that further. If you wish for me to, I will compare the two in terms of the ones that you've been provided. Again, they're both going to work.
Go on and join this desk.
We'll hold on that too. And that. Well, actually, before some of those would executive session material. Few comments on your RFP review and discussion. A couple of things that I would mention to you from sitting in this chair. you want to more carefully review your process and incorporate some things into this RFP. Because what the job contains versus what it includes in that notice is broader, deeper, and has more elements to it. I recognize why the suggestion was made about commission control, but I think you want to add some additional language about that on a regular basis, weekly. I will walk out of here and Sharon Dover will have questions. If you have to tell her, now wait, you need to run that through the commission first. It's like the issue with, do I have to be here at the same time as you to approve the bills and warrants? No, and I've told you that before. I have to do them. I have to do them to a greater extent than you do. 9715, if you want to read it, is the AG's opinion. And the statute was last amended in 1984, and they took out the conjunctive and the interpretation of that was, I have to do it, but I don't have to do it in your presence. Okay? And there's a number of those kinds of things to consider. I completely understand, you know, you want it to run through the commission. I think in terms of process also, if you want everything that the counselor sends letters on, has communications about, does phone calls about, you'll get a ream of paper based upon my experience with this position. Because again, I'll get calls from like Nate Martins, who is assigned a case, got a new one for us now, with questions about procedure in the county and what we've done and what we haven't done and what we would do in the future and you name it. And all of those kinds of things come into play. But I can't have that discussion with him if everything is to run through the commission, if you take it literally the way it is. And again, you've written it in such a way that you can go ahead and establish a different policy, and I would recommend you consider that up front, so that it's dealt with. Third thing, be really clear about what your expectation is with regard to attending meetings. Before I started, it was as needed. I bid it that way. And then I looked at it, and within a few weeks, it became abundantly clear to me that now you need to be at all of them that you can. Too many things come up too often, as evidenced by what's transpired in the time I was gone in 3 or 4 meetings. So, and it will invariably cost you more. I would also strongly recommend that you have the county counselor start attending planning and zoning and the BZA. And some other meetings that are regularly done in the county. Because there's too many times where you have questions, I haven't been there because I wasn't expected to be, or they have a different consultant involved, and so I assume, well, it's all taken care of, and then it isn't necessarily. So that would be something. And the fourth one that I think is, from my perspective, most important, that at least initially you do evaluations with the county counselor every 90 days. Very much like you have department heads come in and do a quarterly update like Mick did. Watching a meeting and finding out that, well, we need a plan B or an alternative, or I'm disappointed, or hey, it should have been done this way. And in a number of instances, I don't necessarily agree, but it would be good to discuss those things. And just to say it in a different way, I have a cell phone I carry all the time. If you have a question or a concern or a complaint, pick it up. That's what I'm used to in at least 20 cities over the year and 3 or 4 counties and all the consulting that I've done. It gives someone the opportunity to correct something. You don't have to do it. I'm just telling you, for longevity and continuity and all that, it's a good idea.
I believe when you first started, we actually did have a couple of those
Yes.
times where, you know, we could sit there and gripe at you or say, can you look at something different
Or
things like that.
again, if you want, you know, everything in writing, you can institutionalize that. Simply say, every opinion you give, even if you do it orally in a meeting, which is just as binding on me, as I've said before, okay. You'll get a lot of extra paper, and that's not a bad thing. I've got several memoranda that I will distribute depending upon, again, I said after a discussion today, where I indicate that. I don't have any problem doing that. If I say it, my malpractice carrier is on the hook. My coverage is $3 million, in case you want to know, and I don't even know if that's enough sometimes with some of the stuff we deal with. But that's per occurrence, and it's cost.
And this situation was quite unique with you being in ICU for multiple days after surgery.
And unavailable. Now, that doesn't, I will say this, just to follow up. Every one of your, or I would have contacted Tina. I was able, coherently, to look at every one of the lists of warrants and bills and checks, and I did. And now we've taken, to, like this morning, I sent the little note so that you've got it in writing. I've looked at them. I have a duty to look at every one of them. You don't. You can pick and choose. You can decide, I don't look at them at all. I have to. I only have to look at them for one thing. They call it correctness. I don't know what the heck that is. To this day, I don't know what that is. I've asked for an AG's opinion, and they're like, we can't really give you one. That it's right. Big deal. What's right? And basically the short form answer after experience with it is that it is, nobody's embezzled. Tina hasn't taken off with $500,000 and done a she shed somewhere that she really enjoys that we don't know about. Or that you're spending over your budget authority, or that kind of thing. I'm not looking at it, should you lease or purchase? Should you enter into the deal with Enterprise or not? That's none of my business. I'm just looking at, okay, does it match? Does it fit within how this has been? Do we have a budget for this? Where's it coming out of? And generally, I can count on one hand the number of times that I've ever raised anything in 40 years. Because you've got multiple people looking at this before I ever see it. And if they're marginally competent, and you have good people in that regard, they're gonna catch that stuff, and they call me. Again, another one of those instances where they don't necessarily pass it through you first, with a question of, hey, what do we do here? So that sort of thing, comes up, and it's just gotta be dealt with. But I did. All of those that, in my absence, I looked at each and every one of them. Because I don't have any way around it. They're gonna get approved and you're gonna pay them, I better have looked at them.
And all of that's coming to the forefront because we have got so much fraud in this country right now that all legal entities are gonna get looked at. Okay, what did you fund, or what pocket did that go into?
I've served as a consultant in 3 different settings for cities that I didn't otherwise represent because they wanted someone to come in as a legal counsel, where a clerk took off with, quite frankly, not enough money to make it worth their while given the felony they were facing. If you're gonna do that, you wanna go to a non-extradition country and have enough to live on for the rest of your life. You wanna be practical about it, so you better get $1 million or $2 million instead of 50 grand. But be that as it may, I've been involved in those settings, and yes, they do happen sometimes. And one of the things that is designed to avoid that, sort of, is you have all these eyes looking at it. But the obligation that I have under the statute, absolutely is, I have to look at each line item.
But you can't audit them.
No. That's why when we say correctness, it's a silly thing, but it is what it is. And you kind of know what it is you're trying to look for. So you do that.
Well, personally, my one time so far that I've been on a commission involved wanting to contact you, but it was just maybe the day of surgery or day after, and we've not had that conversation yet.
And I'm happy to have it. I am. Anyway, that's just a
I
suggestion.
felt it very appropriate that it could wait or wasn't life altering on our part. So,
I guess I added these changes because if the budget for the county council position comes out of the commissioner's budget. And if you look down here at the bottom of this RFP, proposal should outline the monthly fee being proposed for said service and indicate the number of hours included. Any additional per hour fee must be stated. And I guess, again, our job is, as you stated, I think back in 2019, Kent, is we set policy. I think then we have an obligation to ensure that we enforce that policy. But we also are responsible for the finances of the county. And if we've got departments coming to you and it's gonna incur costs to the county, we need to know about that.
And when I started this, if you look at the original contract, it included the ability to bill per mile, driving back and forth. I've never done that. I've never billed anything extra for those phone calls. I've done it as a flat rate, and it's always been that. And that's how I typically do it. So, but that's, again, could it be different? Yeah. And that's why I say, if you get someone who does it differently, stressing to someone in that circumstance that we want you at every meeting, including payday. If they're astute and they've been around for a while and they like to eat, they are going to there's only so many hours they can bill. And unless they just love doing it for you for free, hard to find. They're gonna wanna know that so they know when they do that bid on a proposal, what it is they're bidding.
Right. And I, from my perspective, it's a matter of us knowing what's going on in the county. I mean, that's my responsibility. I take that responsibility seriously. And so that's why I added, what I did, because I think that we need, as commissioners, we need to know what you're addressing with departments.
And I think that that's absolutely appropriate, and you can easily, I get into, for example, I could outline when Tina Raining asks the question of, periodically, and hers is fairly rare. I can go ahead and outline and send those things to you. I haven't in several years, because usually there's something we solve fairly quickly. I've done it before, seen it before, or heard of it before, and it hasn't been anything that was going to be pivotal in your lives in terms of what this body does.
Catastrophic, or however you want to phrase it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't know. And I look at that and I agree with you. When I look at these, I think, okay, you can have this weekly kind of hey, this is everything that I touched, at least in summary form. And that way, if there is something, it's kind of like reviewing the warrants.
With email, if you're sending her something back via email, it's pretty simple to copy.
Yeah. I'm not arguing that at all.
Yeah, I'm not asking for the world, I don't think.
No, I don't. None of that causes me any stress. What I'm saying is make sure that's expectation is well known and properly outlined, because you do get to a point, human nature. Like in my case, it's faster to just respond to it, and it's taken care of and it's done. Trying to think of a good example. Sharon and Ashley sent me one last week. Hey, this is what they did in this divorce. How do we title this property? Well, I answered it because I know what the law is, and it was something that really doesn't impact the county at all, other than how we list it. Should I carbon the entire body on that? I can, but I haven't. So there's a lot of those.
Well, I think you've got enough experience, you would have an idea, maybe you need to copy this.
Anytime it's gonna be anything particularly pivotal,
I think we have to.
you're gonna know. But again, it's okay for you to go, okay, do I trust that? I mean, I don't wanna use his judgment, I wanna know. That's fine. There's no affront or insult in that to me at all. If you want that kind of information, great. Happy to do that. Sometimes what I've gotten is, maybe you could leave out a few of these things because you blow up my email every day. Some get to the point where they regret getting all that.
I spent years with emails from countless people that I look at and say, okay, not a problem, I delete. I mean, I can hit the delete button as good as anybody.
And that's just an expectations issue in terms of what do you want, and then making sure that it gets delivered. And that gets back to reviewing it with someone on a regular basis, saying, I'd really like more information about what happens every week.
Through Tina, like,
Well, that's the other piece of this, is you've got we spent a lot of time at the point where this position was created, and I stressed, you don't want to micromanage that position. You don't want to build in failure because her job is to do a lot of that for you. And then she also makes the determination about what comes to you, independent of what I think. And that, you know, having that contact, she's always available. I mean, heck, I've bugged her on her personal cell phone over the weekend on a regular basis, and on occasion when I need something. Ashley too, Sharon too, Jeff too. You know, so
On down the list.
anyway.
So we have as much time as you.
I know, but everybody gets glazed over after a while, and I've got, most of the rest of this gets into a fair amount of depth and also gets into a bunch of executive sessions.
What's wrong with you? Don't tire yourself out.
Well, that's not as big a deal as,
Could be.
let's, if we can, I'd like to do 2 executive sessions, one on personnel, which is 75-4317B1.
Is it for a performance of a specific individual or,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
here we go. And then what else did you need?
Second one will be attorney-client privilege 75-4317B2, potential litigation. Do those 2. Time,
Okay, let's see.
I always understate it. 10 minutes is what I would say, so whatever you guys want to do.
Specific. Here. Sorry.
Why don't make
So
them-
if you do
why don't
that-
make them 15, that way we come out early. We just be out early.
So on the first one, the personnel one, the job performance of specific employees.
Yes. Well, yes. There'll actually be several employees, but yes, that's correct.
Of specific employees. Sorry, this is gonna be really messy. It is really messy. Who do you want included?
The board, yourself, and myself.
Was it 3 o'clock? Or is that too long?
That's probably too long for this one, I would say. Like I said, 10, but if you want to round it up with an extra 3 minutes to 13, that'll put us at 2:55.
Sorry, that's hard to read.
Want to move that we recess into executive sessions. And we discuss job personnel, specific employees pursuant to KSA 75-4319B for personal matters with the board, Brad and Tina, for 13 minutes. We'll resume back in session at 2:55. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are you gonna call in or do you need a link?
I'll call Brad probably, or Dave.
Okay, thank you.
Figure that's where the majority of the talking will be.
Do we need to
Go
go
back
back?
and open session, no decisions were made.
Any desire to go back in on that one? If not, we can go on to the
I think we're good.
other one.
Here. You said potential
Yeah.
litigation. How long did you look for that one?
That literally, I think 10 minutes is truly enough.
I move we recess in executive sessions in order to discuss potential litigation pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2 Violation of attorney matters privilege under attorney privilege. With the board and Brad and Tina for 10 minutes. We'll come back at 2:07.
307?
3:07. Open session to resume back at 3:07.
And I think Commissioner Becker seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Open session now, no action was taken.
My list for,
We don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we go back into executive session for personnel discussion for 5 minutes? I just have one comment that I need to make.
Are you gonna use this one again? Oh, yeah.
Same people present.
Same people present, Brad, Tina, and the board. 5 minutes will.
Okay.
How long?
5 minutes.
Move that we go in recess and executive sessions for job performance for specific employees pursuant to KSA 75-4319B for personal matters. Board, Brad and Tina, 5 minutes until 3:15. Session will.
You second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just you need.
I need to tell you.
Okay, we're back on.
Back in session now, no decisions was made. Anything else? Any comments?
Yeah, we didn't do any outside reports today, but I might just report that SCED has moved from their building on Red Road to Suite on North Road. It's all, their website is all updated, operating under a interim director at this point, so. Bill Lampu had been long-term at the end of the year.
Any other comments?
I just have a comment regarding, again, planning and zoning. I attended the last planning and zoning meeting. They spoke at length for some 3.5 hours regarding various issues. And I'm not sure what the county's policy is. Having looked at the minutes from that meeting, the minutes were not very detailed. And in looking at Russ Evie's changes to Article 27, there were a couple changes in there that I don't feel were addressed in that meeting, or ever brought up. So I'm not sure where those changes came from. But my question is, do we have any policy regarding public meetings being recorded, documented?
Nothing prohibiting it in any way, shape, or form. I don't know that there's been any kind of structural, this is the only way we'll do it, or when we'll do it, or if there's any advance approval. Because quite frankly, in most cases, somebody can walk in, have their phone, and do that all day long. Courtrooms are a little different, but generally these public meetings.
Yeah, I'd like to see those meetings recorded, just
It can be. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you want to do that.
just for clarity. I mean, there was a lot of stuff discussed at those meetings, at that meeting, and I just feel like in the best interest of the county that those meetings be at least, if not videotaped, at least recorded so that the public can have the ability to go back and look at what was said and what came out of it.
It's a practical matter. If you're gonna record anyway, you might as well do a video and then have it, like ours, where you look it up.
Yep.
You just want to know what they said. And it's good in terms of posterity. No, this is how we discussed that. And sometimes it's very protective as well. It's got value.
So there were a couple changes to that, and they'll probably be brought up at this week's meeting, but there were a couple changes that were brought up that everybody that I talked to does not remember them being discussed or brought up by the planning and zoning. So I think it would behoove us to make sure that those meetings are recorded in some form or fashion.
It can be established.
How is that established?
Generally a policy statement, or again, if we want to get really formal with it, as a resolution, we can indicate that any and all, if you want to make it culturally complete, any and all public meetings of any entity for the county, the meeting is recordable, and some will establish by policy will be done every time. Others just when they feel like they need to, so.
Did you get the budget to do that at?
Yeah, that's your your
I
deal.
think if you make it potentially too broad, then you might have trouble with some of that, so.
Well, also it's hard. Some of them are very small committee meetings, that kind of thing, and you want us to do what kind of a deal? But that one, they're regular in their meeting and usually has a fairly, just by
So
virtue
if
of
the-
having 11, it's well attended.
So if this board wants to implement that policy or change, what does this board need to do for that specific board?
I would do it as a resolution because then it's binding. But this board recommends all meetings of the Planning and Zoning Commission be, say, videoed and so that they can be
We
seen.
have to buy the equipment to do it.
We don't have that equipment I know we don't have anything at the lake hall, but and it should be videotaped, but it should be relatively inexpensive to record those and have that recording downloaded online so that people can listen to it.
We have Teams, or not Teams, but we have GoToMeeting. It should be generally allowed for everybody. And then if there was a situation where there's a network failure or something, we can make allowances that it just be recorded and uploaded later.
But it's such a big meeting that you have to have at least 2 or 3 sets of microphones
Yeah,
because it's spread out.
you get into an issue with people being able to hear, like we hear really well on Teams because we have great technology in this room. But in other settings, we don't have that. So the audio could potentially be an issue. And at your direction, I just gave away all our sound equipment from before to the city of Burns. So it could.
Well, they need it.
Yeah, so it could be problematic. So it's just something to think about. I mean, not saying we can't do it, but it would have its hurdles. And then if you decide to,
Budget it in the future.
Conceptually, it's not a problem. How you guys practically implement it is more your deal. That's why you guys get the big dollars.
Could we see a draft resolution on what that would look like?
Yeah.
So how are you gonna implement it?
I don't want to spend any money until I know what the constraints are going to be.
so I guess I also have a question. We talked I'm sorry, I know we're in commission comments.
Yeah.
I don't,
No,
before you adjourn, may I ask a question about something else?
yes,
Okay, so if you need to continue your commission comments, that's great.
Mike has some.
I'm done.
I was just gonna say
got one.
that with this total inches of snow that was forecasted, we dodged a pretty major budget. The wind stayed down. Steve sent the crews out Sunday morning early. The main roads, I think out, especially even out in my area, got run without me having to do it for the first time in a long time, so
Okay.
pretty proud that they didn't wreck any trucks or loaders this time. I think everybody was out safe and got what we needed done, so kudos to them for their efforts.
I actually got some compliments from residents in my part of the country too, that they've done a good job, so appreciate that.
I had some of that same kind of feedback.
Even here
I
at
was able to make my
courthouse, I think
flight
they
on
did.
Sunday.
What, Jonah?
I said I was able to make my flight on Sunday, so that says a lot. My commission comment is I'll be here all week, but I do have to go to the KAC reorganization meeting online on Wednesday, and then I will attend our payday on Friday, virtually again.
Okay. So are you finished with your commission comments? Okay, so just a heads up to the board. Jonah, I don't know if you heard before, I'm gonna be on vacation this week. I'll be here for the payday meeting, but that's just about it. I'm trying to use up some more of my hours for a reason. Also, the question I have is about the RFP. So you talked some about it, and Clark had some proposed changes. I guess my question is, am I to go ahead and send it out, or are you putting that on hold? I don't know what to do at this point. I don't have.
We didn't get a lot of time to talk about it. I'd like another week or two to talk about it before it's sent it out. It's just my opinion.
Okay, or if there's something specific that you would like to see from your county counselor in lieu of an RFP, that's also something to discuss. So we can, I don't know if anybody has anything else on. I can put it back on the next regular agenda.
That'd be what I'd do.
Maybe kind of incorporate that should be fleshed out a little. My comment should be fleshed out and clarified a little bit, but I do feel that we as a commission need to have a little bit more
Information.
a little bit more control over what is going to the council, at least. I mean, I know that little things come up and when big things come up, when policy or
Yeah. Probably what I would suggest at this point, what I would do with it, whenever that's come up historically, which isn't all that many times, but when it has, is err on the side of too much as opposed to too little. Give it to you until you guys tell me, geez, I'm tired of hearing from you. And then I can cut it back according to what you indicate you don't want.
I'd agree with Brad on that. Sometimes our big things all stem from little things that we'd never thought were going to be anything. So,
Okay, so I'll put it on a future agenda.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second.
Aye.
Aye.